This is a WKYT podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. What's the name of this podcast, Andrea?
It's been a while. I don't know.
It's Conversations with Victor and Andrea.
Oh, man. There's a podcast called It's Been a Minute.
Really?
Yeah. But they do it every week, so I don't actually.
Well, I was going to say, then in that case, it should be It's Been a Week.
I'll submit that to NPR.
Let them know. It's been about 3 weeks for us, but I spent a week filling in for Sam. I was just kind of busy that week, and then, we haven't really had a chance to schedule anything. But we're going to start doing that. We're going to start scheduling time so that we can get these done.
We're committed.
We are committed.
To each other and to you, our audience.
It's one of those things where, when I don't do it for a while, I get a little bit like, we'll get around to it. And then as soon as I do it, I have so much fun, and I go, why am I not? Yeah, I need to. And so we had a great conversation today that I really enjoyed.
Yes. So I came back from a breakfast. Victor came in a little early for this because he, you really do always kind of make the big sacrifices for the podcast. I came in on the weekends a couple times with my dog, but you came in early, which I appreciate. And just literally sitting next to you was Garrett Wymer, and I was like, Garrett.
Because we tried to get him before. Sometimes
so long.
Sometimes it's just like, who's available, and we're just like, all right. Great. And, it always ends up being fun getting to learn about people. But this was like, who's available? Garrett. Oh, great, because we've wanted to talk to Garrett for a while.
Yes. And we still have a few other people that we do want to talk to and get around to. I know Krista Frost is a big one. And we have a few new people that we want the audience to get to know better. The Shelbys. We have 3 Shelbys now. It's so confusing. So, yeah, but Garrett, I've always liked Garrett. But Garrett and I have always been completely opposite schedules. Mm-hmm. So it's been hard trying to get to know him. And I really love his wife. She teaches at my old high school. So I've just always kind of been drawn to her. And we have a few things in common that we can talk about as far as Jessamine County. So the Wymers are awesome people. And they have an awesome pet that you'll learn all about.
Oh, yes. Yes. So we won't keep you too long. Here is our conversation with Garrett Wymer. And then on the back end, we've got some favorite things to talk about. And, just life updates, how things are going.
Life.
Here you go, people. Hello, everyone. We're here with Mr. Garrett Wymer. Andrea, you're excited about this.
I am. Well, we've been wanting to have Garrett on the podcast
Andrea, it's been
for
so
a really
long
long
talking to the
time.
microphone. That's how it works.
Do you see this? I've just constantly berated by Victor. That's what this podcast is all about. But Garrett, we're so happy to have you.
Well, don't be too excited because I told Victor before this I'm probably a really boring guest. So I hope you're not that excited. Lower your expectations.
I don't think expectations are very high for this podcast in general. We're always just like, hey, we did it.
We found someone.
But I'm excited to have you on because we've wanted to have you as a guest for a while, and it's one of those timing things. You're just always generally out the door whenever we're setting things up. So I'm excited to have you in here today because one of the things we always start with is just kind of how people got into the business. I guess, first off, where did you grow up?
Well, I'm originally from West Virginia, about halfway between Huntington and Charleston, but spent several years as a kid in Boone County, Kentucky, up in northern Kentucky, and spent most of my childhood, though, in West Virginia. Grew up there, and found my way back to UK.
So that's the thing. So you went to UK?
Yeah.
And then I guess studied broadcasting?
I did. I double majored in journalism and political science.
Ooh. Look at us. We're like, impressive. Wow. We got a smart one with us today. So, but was this your dream career growing up always?
It was. I mean, not always, because there was a good chunk of my life that I wanted to do everything. I was actually, when I lived in northern Kentucky, for the first day of 5th grade, there was a news station that came and followed me around as I got ready, followed me to the bus stop, followed me to school. And so, like little 5th grade Garrett, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and my answer was, in my high-pitched prepubescent voice, was an author, an actor, the president, and a NASCAR pit crew chief.
Wow.
So quite a combination. I would have been really busy. Probably wouldn't have had time, for all of those things.
The first 3 could have been possible. Then you threw in the NASCAR thing, and it went a little off
the way you recited that let me know that you watched that once or twice.
I have.
I'm sure your family enjoys that. Yeah.
Yes, we have it on tape.
Mom. Yeah.
Yeah, we have it on tape. It came out a couple years ago to show my wife. So, it comes up every now and then. But yeah, since probably middle school, I knew that I wanted to do some sort of journalism career. Didn't exactly know what it was going to look like, but I knew it. And so in high school, I did yearbook. I was actually on our morning announcements, which were on TV and all that kind of stuff. So that's also funny to look back on.
Oh my gosh, I would have loved that. I remember Channel 1 News. Did you guys watch Channel 1?
We did. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of what made me want to do it. That was part of the thing that got me into it. It's kind of something I always had my eye on, but I remember watching that. I was like, I could do that.
Well, it was interesting too with Channel 1 to watch people kind of closer to your own age, doing stories.
Yeah.
Maria Menounos started there. I remember her
from
Channel 1.
Oh, did she really? I didn't remember that. Wow.
I remember. And didn't Anderson Cooper, he was involved with it.
Wow.
I think he kind of created it maybe, or helped with that process. But anyway, going off on tangents. Did you have someone that you looked up to? Like, was Anderson Cooper your guy? Was
it somebody local? I mean, did you all watch the news growing up?
Yeah, always watch the news. And it's kind of funny because when I lived in West Virginia, our weatherman was Chris Bailey.
What?
He was at WSAZ at the time.
Yeah, remember he left here for a while?
Oh my gosh.
He came back?
So yeah.
I do remember that.
Yeah, and so he left.
And that's how old I am.
Yeah,
so
he
you
left.
just followed Chris Bailey.
So I followed Chris Bailey. Moved to West Virginia when he did, and he moved back here. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I should too.
He would probably think that was accurate. Just knowing Chris Bailey.
Yeah.
So when you graduate, what was the job hunt like? How did you decide where to go?
So I sent probably around spring break or so of my senior year. I started sending out DVDs and links to my work and resumes and that kind of thing. And I sent out a first batch of maybe 8 or 10, just to places that were relatively close around here. And then I had kind of a second tier that if nothing came out from that, then I would send out another batch.
Your safety schools, so
to speak. Exactly. So I had probably 4 interviews or so, 4 or 5 interviews. Turned down a couple just because I knew it wasn't going to be a good fit, which was a scary thing because I didn't have
a fallback.
Right. So it was kind of scary, but then I accepted a job in Virginia. So I was at WHSV, which is another gray station. I was there. It's in Harrisonburg, Virginia, which is in the Shenandoah Valley. I was a bureau reporter in Stanton, Virginia.
So you were kind of by yourself?
I was by myself, yeah. So I was there for about 15 or 16 months, with the whole time the goal of coming back here.
Yeah, you knew you wanted
Lexington. I mean, I loved it here, and it also, my now wife was in grad school still at UK. She's a teacher in Jessamine County. Yeah, shout out. So she was still in grad school at UK, and so we did the long distance, 6 hours apart for that year. And as things were getting more serious, that gets less and less fun. So it was trying to get back closer, and applied here at WKYT, and the rest is history. So I've been here almost 5 years now.
That's crazy.
He's been here 5 years? Yeah, because in my mind, well, no, I guess, I don't even think of you as one of the new people, but I'm like, oh yeah, Garrett's been here a little while.
Yeah. September 1st, I think, of 2014 was my first day here.
Oh my gosh! So you're coming up right on that 5-year anniversary.
Coming up right on 5 years.
You're going to get to pick out a fancy present.
I already did because my 5-year anniversary with the company was last year.
Oh, because you were with.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
we got a nice badminton set.
Oh.
Ooh.
So one of the benefits of working at Gray is on your anniversaries, you get to pick out stuff. I think on my 5-year anniversary, I got like a little pendant or something, but now you get to pick stuff out.
Well, I guess I've had my 5-year then, because I was with WBKO for 2 years, so I got a hammock that I have yet to hang it.
My 10 years coming up, so I have no idea what kind of.
You could get 2 hammocks.
Oh boy! Well,
the prizes get better and better.
They do. I'm very excited.
A double watch.
I'm very excited. I'm like,
I know.
I'll surprise my wife with it.
I should have got a weighted blanket. I'm kind of disappointed in myself.
Yes, you should have got a weight. So, Garrett, are we going to get into this? The fact that Andrea almost burned down the station.
Well, see, this was news to me. I just found it. I think it happened while I was out of town, so I was just hearing a little bit about it when Jeff poked his head in the door. So, our general manager. So I don't think I've really heard the entire story.
The outlets aren't as prepared for space heaters as Andrea is prepared to run them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I was terrified. we all know Kristen Kennedy intimidates me. I'm a little bit scared of Kristen. So she and I sit next to each other now. I just recently switched desks. I basically got separated from Miranda because we talk too much.
See, this is news to me, too.
It's like I'm in middle school.
Like the bad kids in class.
I know, we were the bad kids in class. I'm like, honey, I'm going to talk to people no matter where I am. But
the thought was, well, Kristen will keep her in line. I think
right.
So that's a good idea.
It happened while Kristen was on break. And I was calling all the engineers because they hadn't come in yet. And I'm like, what time are you coming in? And they're just like, space heater? I was like, yeah. I was like, if you can get back before Kristen, that would be awesome because I didn't want her to find out.
Did it mess up her computer?
Yes. Everything shut down. Everything was off. And yeah, it was embarrassing.
So what was it like for you when you started here? Because I'd imagine going to UK in communications, you probably watched the local news.
Yeah.
So you were aware of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
When you started. What was that like?
It was neat because, getting to know the people that, you've watched before and that kind of thing. Anytime you're familiar with it, I think it just makes it even better when you get to know the people behind the facade. Not the facade. I don't know what the right word is, but you know what I mean?
The image.
And I think a lot of people here measure up to what you want them to be. That's the thing. Like when you meet Bill Bryant, you have this idea in your head, and he meets it, and it's like, oh,
right.
All right.
Everyone's so
Bailey
genuine.
Is sweet, and like you meet all these people, and you go, oh, they are what I wanted them to be.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
It's a very genuine, very down to earth, just a good good place with a lot of good people.
So what was it like going from a bureau reporter where you're literally by yourself? You were the Phil Pendleton of your station to coming to a newsroom and all the chaos that comes with that.
It was an adjustment. It was definitely an adjustment because I had my own, my entire little office with its own little studio.
Yeah.
I would do studio shots from inside the bureau. And so, I didn't have someone to hold my hand, which was a good learning process, for a reporter where you become very independent very quickly. But it was definitely an adjustment just getting used to the noise and the chaos. And, I had one scanner in the bureau listening to the county that I covered. But all the scanners and just, Michelle Hill and our assignment manager at the time.
I love Michelle. Yes, she was very authoritative. Yes, we do need to get Michelle on here.
She'd be great for the podcast.
Oh yes,
she'd be a great interview for the podcast.
Back.
Yeah. No. So it was just a big adjustment, but because it was just so very, very different.
Yeah.
And there's big personalities.
Yes, a lot of them, and a lot of them. Yes.
But I think it's fair to say that you've succeeded. I mean, you've become one of the go-to people whenever something happens in Frankfurt. It's like, okay, it's either you or Hillary. I mean, that just depending on when it happens.
Well, political science degree. Now we know why.
Yeah, you understand all that stuff, and then it's also, I guess, when did you start anchoring?
So I started filling in last fall, just a little here and there on the weekends, and then maybe April or sometime in this spring, I started the weekend mornings. So I was doing one day a week on the weekend mornings, Sunday mornings, and then end of July took over as weekend evening anchor. So doing that now.
What's that been like? Do you enjoy it? Do you have a preference between reporting and anchoring? They're two very different things.
They are two very different things. So the good thing is, still 3 days a week I'm reporting, but it's definitely a nice change of pace. I think on the weekends to anchor, to be able to look spiffy in a suit and not know that I'm
rushed and hurried and
right.
and not have to have my rain boots on too.
Yeah.
And rain jacket and rain pants.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to be able to prepare a little more for what I'm going to be doing and know, and just a little bit of a different pace. So it's a good mix. So I'm on my Wednesday right now, and then
so odd, isn't it?
Yeah. So Friday is my Wednesday, and then I'll be anchoring the next 2 nights, 6, 10, and 11.
I love it. So go back to the whole political science thing. Mm-hmm. Have you ever considered maybe transitioning to politics after news, if that was an option?
I had. So we actually just had this conversation over the weekend. We were talking about law and stuff, and I took the LSAT at one point to just kind of see how I did and keep my options open in case, because I have thought about that. At this point, who knows? probably not. But that was a serious consideration
How'd
at
you
one
do?
point. I did pretty well. I didn't study a whole lot, so I think I could have done better. But
But it was a good gauge to see where your starting point.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to Malcolm Gladwell's podcast on the LSAT?
No.
He's got a really good podcast series called Revisionist History, and it's just about it's like things that are overlooked, as he put it. But it's all about how the LSAT encourages like speed when it comes to lawyering, but that real world law a lot of times
It's so slow.
you want tortoises who take their time to
Yeah.
thoroughly, meticulously research stuff. And there are instances where you'll have something, we need this the next day, and you need somebody who's that fast.
Interesting.
And so he just said, that because of the speed of it, you're biasing it towards people who learn one way, and then there are other people who are even better in another way. So it's just kind of interesting.
That is interesting, yeah. And I never took it with the intention of becoming a practicing lawyer. Like if I went to law school, it was not to practice law, but as a background,
Right.
was kind of what I was thinking. Basically, another way to further kind of that political science, government law background. But I went this way, and I'm happy with it. So I don't think I could have handled more school anyway.
My mom ran for local office, and both my family has been in it a lot. And I remember when my dad first became sheriff, I think they were on their first call, and like someone like beat him up or something, or like they got in a fight. He didn't.
gosh.
My dad never got beat up. He would be really upset if I ever said that about him, because he was a big guy and like he could handle himself. But he looked over at his brother, who was one of the deputies, and was like, "We asked to do this. Like we went door to door and asked people to do this." He was just like, "Why?"
We volunteer for people to take
It's not
swings at us.
easy, and
No.
like people just always complain. Like they come to you with their problems. They don't come to you to say, "Oh, we love you."
Right.
So it's a tough job. It is.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So you, I think, are one of our best writers
Oh,
by
thank
far. I always enjoy. It's like a craftsmanship the way Garrett writes a story. Do you read a lot? Like, where do you get this?
I do. Okay, so that's one of the. I mentioned earlier that I always knew I wanted to go into journalism. I didn't exactly know what it was going to look like. That was because I've always loved reading and writing and telling stories, and so the actual sitting down and writing is my favorite part.
Really?
Yeah,
That does not surprise me.
That's my
Good.
favorite part is crafting the story, and a lot of times I'm constantly writing it in my head, whether it's as soon as I get the story idea or right after I do the interview. Obviously, things can change, and I'm making adjustments, but I'm constantly just writing it and rewriting it
try that
in my head.
sometime.
And that's also one of the benefits of being a one-man band. Shooting your own video is while you're
Yeah.
out there shooting, sometimes you'll see something and you'll have a line
Yep.
in your head to write to that, to reference that. And so I
Yep.
guess does that help a lot too?
Yeah, absolutely. I know what shots I want. I know what shots I need. Sometimes I have a line in my head, and it's like, okay, I need to make sure when I'm there, get a shot of this. But sometimes it's the other way around, where it's like, oh, that's really cool. Let me work that in there somehow. But yeah, I do read a lot. I love to read. And so it's just, I don't know.
Good
I
writers
just enjoy
are always
that.
big readers.
Yep.
I knew that.
It's true.
I knew that just based on hearing folks that like to read. That's what I gathered. Who are your favorite authors?
Ernest Hemingway and John Steinbeck are probably my two favorites.
Oh, some
Right.
classics.
Yeah, took a Hemingway class in college, but I like anything and everything. I read history, nonfiction, but read fiction in there too. So a little bit of everything.
So one of your big loves outside of, two things spring to mind. First,
Dog.
I guess four things.
Oh,
Your wife.
we have to talk about him at some
I
point.
know, I was like, Walter
Yes.
is gonna have to be in there.
You and Amy have one of the cutest dogs I've ever seen, and he has his own Instagram account.
He does
Walter
at Walter Peanut. At Walter Peanut is the Instagram handle, all
Honey.
one word.
He's gonna be an influencer by the time this podcast comes out. I mean,
Let's
your
hope.
numbers are gonna
Yeah.
skyrocket.
Yeah.
So yes, if you want to
so-
follow Walter, how did that come about?
Okay, so a lot of people have Instagrams for their pets, and I was like, I would never be
I'm
that
not
person.
That person.
I would
I
never.
also used to make fun of people who dressed up their pets, and then
Vader
poor
is
Vader
always
wearing
in a
all-
costume.
Yeah.
But so I was like, I would never be that person. I'm not. I love dogs, always have. But I don't need that. So when we adopted Walter, he's a rescue dog, comes from Corbin. So rescue group here in Lexington, Paws for the Cause, rescued him, and we adopted him from them.
Did you do the story?
I didn't.
I was going to say, we do a lot of Paws for the Cause
We do,
stories.
and I've done several stories with them. But that was actually the first time that I had interacted with them was when we adopted Walter. But it was we wanted a hound and found a picture of him online. We're like, we'll go see him, see how it fits. Fell in love.
Of course.
Adopted him that night. So we were just like, he's just so cute. Like this dog is so cute.
It'd be wrong not to share it.
Right. And I was like, so here's my thinking. I was like, I'm going to want to take a lot of pictures of him. I mean, it's just the case. It's what's going to happen.
And I don't want to force my friends to look at all these pictures.
Exactly. Because, I don't want to have to just plaster them on Facebook or my own personal Instagram account when there are people who don't want to see a million pictures of dogs. I don't know who those people are who wouldn't want to see them.
Don't understand that.
But there are some people. And so it's like, it's actually like a public service.
Yes.
And doing a favor to my friends.
Doing this for your own good.
If I make him his own Instagram.
It's therapy.
And then people who want to follow and see nothing but pictures of Walter can do it. People who don't, yeah. So
if it had a top fan thing on Instagram, I'd be one of Walter's top fans.
It has definitely morphed into its own thing. We have some big fans out there. So.
I love it.
Awesome. The two things I was going to think of were the Reds and NASCAR, but I guess Walter should have sprung to mind too.
Don't seem like a NASCAR guy. I love this.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I've just been a NASCAR fan since I was a kid. Grew up watching it with my dad. Sunday afternoons, we'd sit there and watch it till we fell asleep just because it was Sunday afternoon, not because it was boring, but I was just a big fan. And it was a great time too, as a kid, great time to be a NASCAR fan. You had some good rivalries, some great drivers, Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon. I was a big Jeff Gordon fan.
The Rainbow Warrior.
Yeah. So
it sounds a little different now. So growing up, me and my mom lived with my grandma, and my uncles would always come over on Sundays, and it was like, you knew Sunday was just NASCAR all day.
Praise Dale.
That's right. That's right.
And sometimes I'd watch, and sometimes I'd be like, I gotta go find something to do because it's NASCAR all day. But for some people, it sticks.
Yeah, and I've been a fan all along, and Amy, my wife, she hated it. Hated it. And I was like, just watch a race with me. Just watch a race. Please. And so we started watching some, and, I would explain things because there's a lot that goes into it. Yeah. Strategy, just all kinds of stuff that once if you're actually paying attention.
They always look like in a big pack to me, and I'm like, how does anyone win this thing? I don't understand. They all look like they're always together. I don't understand it. I would be like your wife for sure.
Well, my point is, once you watch some of it, it is interesting. Amy is never going to like it as much as I do. She's never going to turn on a race on her own volition. But
if you're watching
if I'm watching a race, she'll watch it, and we've gone to races together. And
I've heard live, it's an incredible experience.
Live is amazing.
I would like to go watch it.
Same.
Yeah.
It's amazing. This weekend is in Bristol, Tennessee, which is a great track to go to. Kentucky is fun too, and it's close. We've actually been to the past 2 Bristol races, so we're missing the fall one this weekend. But it's a lot of fun. We've got our own race scanner and our headphones, so you listen to the drivers talk on the radio, their communications with their pit crews and everything. It's just a really fun time. Yeah, it really dials it up a notch because you can hear them talking. Mm-hmm. You know what's going on.
Why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it's just so much fun. It's a great experience, and you can do a one-day thing. That they have entire weekends of racing there, so you can go. My dream is to go camping for a weekend, to spend the weekend there. I would love to do that.
Yeah,
that's a bucket list thing for me. So
you see the people bring in the big campers and you know that they're basically living there for a week.
But it's a big event. People go and tailgate. And
Jim Caldwell just got a camper.
Well, there we go. Oh, there we go.
He wants to make his money back.
Okay, hey.
He has a timeline. I remember we talked about how I guess you have to put in a deposit if you smoke in the thing, and I was like, then he gets to keep the deposit. Yeah. I was like, Jim will have a pack of cigarettes in every drawer, just encouraging people. Yeah, and like a 6-pack of beers, and like, oh whoops.
Well,
yeah.
So
Rude.
one of your other big loves is the Reds. Now, did that start while you lived in Boone County? I mean, is that where that came from?
It started before that. When I was one of the earliest pictures that I've seen of me is me with a Reds hat on. It's just it's run in the family. So, obviously when I lived in Northern Kentucky, that made it easier because we could go to games back at old Riverfront Stadium, Synergy Field. So got a lot of good memories there. But yeah, I was born 10 days before they won the World Series in 1990. So
this was predestined, is
right,
what he's saying.
Right, exactly. So it goes back, but yeah, been a long-suffering Reds fan.
I was gonna say,
Long-suffering.
You and Adam Burnison have that in common. You both sit on either side of me. You both have all these bobbleheads. And as soon as the season starts, I'm like, well, here goes me feeling bad for both of them.
Yeah.
Aww. That's another example of something that's way more fun to be at the game than it is to watch on TV.
See, I grew up, when I lived in West Virginia, we didn't get the Reds games on TV. And so I would sit out on, it makes me sound like an old man, but I would literally sit out on the front porch every night and listen to the game on the radio, which was just one of my favorite things in the world to do. And I still listen to games on the radio probably more than I watch on TV. And so Marty Brenneman, he's the Reds play-by-play voice and has been for 40 years. He is retiring at the end of this year. But he was one of the people, too, that made me kind of want to do something in broadcasting just because I was like, man, he's so good at what he does.
And they have to paint a picture.
They do.
Because you're not seeing it.
They paint a picture. They tell stories. And because
they have a lot of time to fill. That's
a
the
lot
other
of
thing.
time to fill. It's a slow-paced game, and so you have a pitch, and then it'll be 30 seconds maybe before the next pitch, and you can't just hear 30 seconds of dead air. So yeah, it's amazing what they can do.
It is definitely an art, like an art form.
Yeah. All right, real quick, I love a love story. How did you and Amy meet?
Okay, so we met in Blanding 2, which is a dorm at UK.
Blanding 2.
Which, rest in peace. I guess it's going to be coming down here in a few years at some point. But so I was an RA. I was an RA for 3 years actually at UK.
So you had authority.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. So I was a junior at UK, and Amy was a sophomore. So the first time I met her would have been on move-in day. She had a boyfriend at the time, and
you want to punch him?
We won't get into that. But
that was a yes for those who can't see.
So we just kind of became friends. We would just talk every once in a while, and then kind of became more friends. Later in the year.
Check her in every time she came in the door.
Yeah,
just my girl.
Did you need help carrying anything?
Welcome to your room.
What you all can't see is Garrett getting all embarrassed to be like, okay.
I don't get embarrassed easy, but I think I'm probably blushing a little bit behind the microphone right now. But so we just kind of became friends, and then it was the next year when I was a senior and she would have been a junior that we started dating, and then I graduated, moved 6 hours away, and came back a year later. We dated throughout. We would make trips. Where my parents live in West Virginia was basically it was 3.5 hours from where I lived in Virginia and 2.5 hours from here. So it was like a nice stopping point.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'd meet there and visit them, or sometimes one of us would drive some of the way, stay the night there, drive the rest of the way. So we would see each other about once a month for a day.
And if a relationship can survive that
Seriously.
distance,
I mean, it wasn't fun, but it would definitely made our relationship stronger. So
Did you talk on the phone a lot?
We did, yeah.
What did you talk about?
And then couldn't even tell you. I hate talking on the phone. So
I have a hard time too. I know. I'm like, ooh.
I don't know. Honestly, don't know how I did it. but we made it, and then I was back maybe a year or maybe a year before we got engaged, and then we got.
Why'd you pop the question?
So Amy coaches softball,
Mm-hmm.
and so she's a big fan of softball and baseball. And as we just talked about, obviously I am too. I played baseball my whole life. So we went to the Arboretum to throw a baseball. And I had written on a baseball, "Will you marry me?" So I had that one in my pocket, and we were warming up, throwing with just a regular baseball. And then at one point I swapped him out, and I threw the ball over her head.
On purpose.
On purpose, so she had to run and go get it. So she ran and went to get it, and then I kind of ran after her. And when she turned back around, had the baseball, and I was on my knee with the ring.
Garrett, that's great.
That is very sweet.
So
That's a really good one.
that's.
Andrew's gonna cry.
Oh no. Oh no.
All right. Well, Garrett,
That's so cute.
I feel like we learned a lot today. Andrew's getting all weepy-eyed. We've taken about a half an hour of your day today, which I appreciate your time. I kept waiting for you to get a call at some point.
I know, I
Wondering
did
where you
too.
were, but
So
this has been nice.
Yeah, it's
Garrett,
been
before
fun.
we finish up, is there anything else you feel like people should know? How should they reach out to you on social media if they want to say hi?
The best way is on Twitter. I'm not very good on Facebook, sorry. But my Twitter handle is @Garrett WKYT. You can also reach me through Walter's Instagram page. That is @WalterPeanut.
There you go, everybody.
It's a good follow.
Thank you all so much for listening. Well, Andrea, how was that?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, obviously, I almost cried. I don't know what gets into me. It's the schedule. I always blame my schedule on any weird emotions or like stupid
No, I think
moments
you're
I'm
just full of
I'm
weird
having.
It was very sweet, though. It was a very sweet story.
I loved it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also enjoyed the whole, I didn't know he was a political science major.
I didn't either, which makes sense because I know that he enjoys politics and that he, but I didn't realize he'd actually
He's very
studied
intelligent.
it. Yeah, he's probably one of the smarter people in the newsroom. So, there we go. Everybody reach out to Garrett. Say hi.
Follow Walter Peanut.
Follow Walter Peanut.
Vader could have an Instagram, I think.
I guess he could, but my problem is I take too many pictures of Vera now.
You could do...
Vader and Vera.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of a good combination of their names.
Infant and Pug podcast feed.
Veerder.
No, you made that weird. I don't know how to respond to that.
Like Vera and Vader. I was trying to put them together.
So last night.
Vader set.
Last night, here I'll show you. I'll only just describe them on the podcast. But so Vera enjoys popsicles, but she doesn't know how to hold them. She keeps trying to hold them. She refuses to hold them by the stick, and she wants to chew on the stick first. But then her hand gets cold, and she gets angry. And so I just have a bunch of pictures of her screaming about these cold popsicles. And then finally they start melting everywhere. She tries to take them. I try to take them away, and she's just
not
an angry infant who's upset about. It also probably didn't help that she was real sleepy at the time. So
she was trying to eat the popsicle while holding the popsicle.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a sticky situation.
It literally was a sticky situation. All right, Andrea. Well, it's been 3 weeks. How's life going?
Oh my gosh, life's good. I mean, kind of same old, same old. I've missed this.
Yeah.
I miss getting to hang out with you.
Just hang out and
I feel like
talk.
Your relationships with other people are stronger than mine now, and I don't appreciate it. I always thought that it was me and you till the end, ride or die.
I love
You've
my
let
job.
me die.
You gave me options there. It was like ride or die.
R.I.P., man. R.I.P.
Woodland Art Fair this weekend.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this on Friday, if you're listening to it on Saturday, you still probably got Sunday to go out.
There you go. Yeah, but we're going to be there Saturday.
Yeah. So come on out to
we
the
might overlap
WKYT.
for like 5 seconds.
Yeah, we'll see each other on Saturday. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Come out to the WKYT booth. You may be able to win some sweet WKYT socks.
Okay. I feel like people are going to think that we're overselling the socks, but we're not.
They're awesome. I'll post them on Twitter.
Jim is obsessed. He has, talked about them so many times on the morning show.
How many
It's
pairs
ridiculous.
Did he steal?
Oh, there's no telling.
Okay.
I'm sure he has multiples.
He probably just, a box probably fell off the back of a truck and now it's at his house.
And that's his. Yeah, that sounds about right.
His new empire.
His new empire, socks.
Well,
but they're cool. I really like them, and it is fun playing Plinko and getting to meet people.
They stick out quite a bit from my pants. I don't, fashion-wise, I don't know how much they work, but I just enjoy wearing them today.
I like them. You look bold.
They make me happy.
Yeah, and I want you to keep a running list of the compliments and critiques that you get this weekend, because people are always very free to critique us at events like this. Or at the booth, they're like, now, your hair, I don't know how I feel about it, or, you're so much skinnier in person.
There's something about being on TV that people get familiar with you, which is a good thing because we want people to feel like they know us. But they also feel like they can talk to us like an old friend, which is awesome when they're like, hey, I enjoy this. But sometimes they'll go, oh, have you put on weight? It's like,
yeah, you're like,
would you say this to somebody you don't really know?
My family, I feel like I take it well because my mom has never been one of those like overly supportive parents,
Oh, that's nice.
Like I was never going to go on American Idol and think I was good. Like William Hung, that situation would have never happened. My mom would be like, don't ever do that again. She kept it real.
But I always enjoy it, and I think that's just part of the job. It's just, I love interacting with people. So if you see us, come say hi. That's why we're there.
Let it rip. You know what? We can take it.
Yeah.
Makes us better, stronger.
Yeah. And it gives us good stories for the podcast, really.
Exactly.
So, favorite things this week. I have 2.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
I'll go first with one of them.
Then me, then you?
Sure. My first one is a board game. I know you're surprised.
Oh.
It's called Watergate. It's a 2-player board game based on the Watergate scandal, where one person acts as the journalist trying to take down Nixon, and the other person plays the Nixon administration. And you've got this grid, and you're basically trying to connect these informants with Nixon. And if you can connect 2 of them, the players win, and Nixon is just trying to survive a certain amount of time. And if he can do that, then he's blasted out his presidency.
Oh my
and he
gosh!
Wins. And so, but all of the cards are historical, and like Ben Bradley's a character, and Woodward and Bernstein are characters, and like Nixon and his administration are people, and so it's all based on history.
Now,
I need to talk to Garrett about it, because Garrett also likes.
Oh, he would
games.
love that.
I need to bring that in, and we can play it.
You should tell Bill about that. You should
should
play with Bill. That could be a podcast right there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's only for 2 people, and so it's called Watergate, and I got a copy, and I'm very excited.
Okay, I need to tell a real quick Bill Bryant story, because
right.
this always cracks me up. So Bill was class president. I know we're all shocked.
Yeah.
But he had to pull some, very strategic political
Some shady
moves to
stuff
make
to
it
get
happen
there.
because there was.
Did he sling mud?
No. So here's what happened. Basically, somebody was put up for class president that didn't take it seriously. It was kind of like one of the joke situations where it's not like people didn't like him, but he was just kind of like class clown. He's like, we'll never have a class reunion if this is the person that we're supposed to organize it with.
Basically like if I had ran for class president.
Exactly. So Bill knew that he actually might lose, because this guy was popular and well liked, but he would not have been a good president, basically. And Bill brought in basically an independent to throw off and offset the vote.
He brought in another joke to split up. So
He
brought needed his own Ross Perot.
Yes, I'm not kidding you. It's like maybe, he brought in another football player. Like this guy was a football player, so he divided the football team and then he ended up winning. I kid you not. I'm like, you did that in high school? Like, obviously, he was meant to be Bill Bryant.
That's pretty good.
Is that not the funniest thing you've ever heard?
That's fantastic.
I know. I was like, that is, yes. I just can see it. I can picture it. Of course you did.
All right, Andrea, what's your favorite?
That's my favorite thing.
That's
that story.
That's fantastic.
No,
that's good.
I will say one of my other favorite things is I just saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and it's the one with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie. Yes, Quentin Tarantino. Obviously, something's going to be a little off about it because he's an odd guy, very creative. So I will say the build-up is a lot, but I think the reward pays off in the end. That's all I can say because it took a twist I was not expecting, and it was really good.
All right, I'm
excited. I feel like I can totally see how people could hate it.
Yeah.
Because I know a couple people that said they hated it, but I loved it. So it's going to be one of those polarizing things, like whether you like it or...
It doesn't go places you expect.
Yes, yes. So I think you will like it a lot.
All right.
Now, Bill wants to see it, and I said, Bill, you won't like it. I was like, Bill doesn't like anything nonfiction. So if there's any part of any
that's going to deviate quite a bit from history.
Right, exactly. So, and this really didn't. There was a lot of factual stuff in it, but, it's Quentin Tarantino, so.
All right.
He goes off the rail. But it's really good. I think you should see it.
I'll be sure to Redbox it. We don't get out to the movies quite as much as...
It's responsive.
But I did buy Endgame on Blu-ray.
That's what you said.
As soon as you get a Blu-ray player, I'll let you borrow it.
Never.
Maybe
I'm morally opposed to Blu-ray.
Maybe you know somebody who has one.
I know you.
Okay, well, I may have to let you borrow my
I don't
Blu-ray
have very
player.
many friends.
Okay.
That's why we need this podcast.
My second favorite thing this week, because I feel like we can double up since we had a week or two off, is another podcast. I've mentioned him before. His name's Mark Rosewater. He's the head designer for Magic the Gathering, a card game I enjoy. So he has a podcast called Drive to Work. And it's literally just him driving to work, and he talks every day. He has a different topic. It comes out, I think, twice a week. A lot of the topics are literally just, if you're a Magic the Gathering fan, it's for you. Otherwise, it's not going to do anything for you. it's like somebody speaking a language you don't understand.
Right.
So, ignore those unless you enjoy it, in which case it's fantastic. But if you have any kind of interest in game design or how people do what they do, it's almost like a master class, like a free one. But he had a podcast that I think everybody could enjoy, regardless of whether or not you play card games. He mentions a little bit of it, but mainly it's the topic. So it's called, the podcast is Drive to Work. It's number 653, and it's ideas and execution. And it's all about how people put so much emphasis and are so excited about ideas, but it's the execution that actually gets things done. He talks a lot about how people will, when they're making games, be like, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. But it's the execution, it's the hard work that actually ends up being successful. Whenever people later on talk about things that they enjoyed, he's like, oh yeah, that's because we figured out a way to do this that we weren't expecting. Mm-hmm. He talks, and it made me think of whenever we interviewed Andrew Schaefer, and he talked about how people would come up to him and go, oh, I've got an idea for a book, but you could write it. And it's like, well, no, the writing's the hard part.
Right.
Everybody can come up with an idea. Mm-hmm. Ideas are a dime a dozen. I mean, granted, good ideas may not be a dime a dozen, but everybody can come up. You give somebody enough time, an idea is not that hard. It's the execution. It's the hard work.
Did you give this podcast 5 stars?
I'm sure I have at some point.
Because it's a 5-star podcast, but only one person has voted. So I'm just assuming it's you.
I haven't yet. I will get on to it.
What's the episode number?
It's from July 12th, 2019, episode number 653.
I'm on the wrong show.
Other lessons, ideas, and execution. It's called Drive to Work.
Oh, I put Ride to Work.
No, Drive to Work.
All right, sorry.
That's very different.
I apologize to the
a man named Mark Rosewater.
Yeah,
he actually.
I'm sure you have more reviews than that.
He used to be he was a staff writer for Roseanne. He's done a lot of stuff.
I love Roseanne.
Yeah. But it's just, and it was very interesting for me to think about how people, they give credit to ideas a lot more whenever he says it's, the execution deserves more.
I agree with that 100%. That's a really good point, actually. And
so listening to it, it even made me think about news stories and how, sometimes just taking the time to do certain edits, these things take time, and no matter how good your idea may be, if you aren't willing to execute them properly, then it doesn't matter.
So I co-hosted Backstage Live at the Emmys, and it was really interesting how many people told me that basically, the things they were winning for weren't their day turns. They weren't the stories that we have to do every day. They were stories that they came in on the weekend, on their time off to do, because, there's not a whole lot of time allotted for passion projects. Yeah. And those are the things that win awards. So it kind of opened my eyes. I was like, man, if you want to do it,
if
you want an Emmy, you gotta work.
Yeah.
They don't give those things away.
No, I mean, that's you watch the Emmy winning stuff. You go, well, that must have taken forever, and it turns out, it did.
Right. I mean, you're just like, oh, I could never do that. I don't have time to do that. They don't either.
It's like, no, you don't have time to do that.
Exactly.
You have to find the time.
So it was like, all right, I see you.
So that's my suggestion.
I get it now.
Drive to Work podcast number 653. Did you find it?
Yep, sure did.
There you go. So check that out.
It is downloading now.
He's a good talker. I enjoyed it, and I think it's something. Even if you're not a big games person, you take something away from it. You can
still like it.
Yep.
And good news, friends, we already have a podcast lined up for next week. We are talking with someone who may sound familiar to many of you, especially if you've been living in this area for a while. We have Kristen Flum. She's been gone for a few years. She used to work at one of our competitors, but she is back now, and she's going to be joining the Fox team, which is kind of our sister station. We were also on Fox. I do the Fox morning show.
My stories.
I don't even know how to define it.
I fill in a case. Well, that's the thing. If you work the weekends, Garrett anchors on Fox now, right? Because he's the weekend evening anchor, and that's one of your duties. I filled in for Marvin a few times.
Yeah,
that's a long show too. Let me tell you, an hour, especially by yourself.
It is
just reading for an hour. Oh.
It is tough by yourself, but I'm looking forward. I really don't know her that well.
Really?
No, but you two used to work together.
Yeah, we're good friends. I mean, I was her photographer for a year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
And then,
See, I don't know her.
Afterwards,
I was always intimidated by her, as I'm sure a lot of people are.
So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it because for me, it's just going to be talking to an old friend who I haven't talked to in a while.
So two perspectives on that.
She's been in Chicago for a while. And
she just had a baby and still looks like a supermodel.
She knew young Proto Victor before he developed into the man I am today.
Mm-hmm. She knew the boy.
That's right. She had to put up with the boy.
She had to put up with the boy.
But yeah, so that'll be exciting. I'm glad to talk to her. I haven't talked to her in a couple of years since she moved to Chicago. We all stay in touch, through
social media.
So that kind of stuff.
But that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I am too, and it'll be interesting to see what it's like for her coming back and her getting fresh eyes on the station. I don't know if she's actually been in.
She's in town.
I know she's in town. I just don't know. I didn't know if she's been in the station much.
I haven't seen her.
Yeah, so there we go. Well, we'll figure it out. All right, Andrea. Well, I had fun doing this today.
Me too.
Yeah, but it's been too long.
I agree. We gotta make it a priority.
Also, we now have our own feed on iTunes.
That's right.
I think currently there's only one episode on there, but I'll put a second one up today, and then we'll start just. I don't think I'm going to do. As I release these, I don't think I'll put them up too because then it would be out of order. Mm-hmm. So I'll just start putting up the old episodes. But if you want to just follow just that feed, I mean, it'll be eventually just all of these episodes.
We're gonna catch up eventually.
Yeah, so that's good news too. So if you want to just follow us, that's tight. Yeah, I got nothing else going on.
All right.
Well,
let's wrap it up, man.
Yeah, reach out to us on
weekend,
Twitter.
So we have stories to tell.
I'm at the Victor Puente because that Mexican businessman still won't give it up.
That guy. He's our new white whale. Since we talked to Barbara, now
I'm not sure he actually exists. I think somebody maybe just took the handle and now they won't give it back. So
we need to launch an investigation.
And if you want to talk to Andrea,
at Andrea WKYT on Twitter and Andrea Walker WKYT on Facebook.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.